uh, my job is to rob people and take people's property and people's money and all the other stuff. Can you explain to me what is wrong with that? What harm it can do to me? You may say, well, police will catch you. No, because I'm a big mafia. You say, well, somebody, I've got a lot of guards around me. They have absolutely no access to me. Good food, good vacations. What harm does it have to me? Can you prove what harm do I have to me if I keep on doing that way? The only way you can argue is if there is a higher being than me, who will be asking for accountability at the end. Because if you do not have accountability, you can do whatever you want to do. But we know that at the end is the higher authority who will be asking us, what did you do on this planet Earth? If you've done good, I'm going to reward you. If you're not good, if you did bad, I will reward you accordingly. It's the difference between heaven and hell. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does, very much. Go on.
Okay, so that's all I have to say in this segment right now.
All right.
Because we have to have a belief and belief that there is a higher being who has created us, and there's a higher being whom we will be responsible, answering everything and good or bad we did in this world.
All right. What do you say about that, Richard?
Well, coming from the Christian perspective, I know that the atheist will look at us and go, so you get your morality from the Bible? And the Christian will say, yes, indeed. And the atheist will say, well, what about this man named David who was one of your prophets, who lusted, who murdered, and then covered it up? What about a man like him? What about another prophet like Noah? He was a drunkard. So what part of morality are you getting out of your Bible? I find immorality in the Bible, and that's what is one of the most beautiful things of Islam, in picking up. Picking up the Quran and seeing the real versions of those stories. That the prophets were men of God, God chosen, and they were moral men. They were not immoral. And it's a different concept when you come from the Bible side of things, because there are so many things, that you just can't rationalize away. And when you're going to say, I'm going to get my morality out of the Bible, it's very, very hard to do. There are many times in the Old Testament where there were the armies of Israel would go to in battle, and they were instructed to slaughter the town, to slaughter men, women, children, and then maybe take some women if you wanted them for yourself. And so the atheist looks at this kind of a situation and goes, you say you get, as an atheist, I can't get my morality from anywhere, but you, as a Christian, you get it from the Bible. And I find some real holes in your concepts of morality in the book that you hold as you declare as God's word. And so it's very important. That's why the Quran was sent down and came to us with just made the stories right, and so we could look at them and be truthful.
Richard, I'm going to ask you one question. When you talk about all these immoralities in Bible, are these the words of Jesus? Are these the red Bible, or it is just man written part of the stuff? Because this does not match with what Quran says.
No, it doesn't match with what Quran says. You've got you got the story of like I said, of David, and his story is that he was on the his front porch, so to speak, one day. He looked across, saw a beautiful woman bathing. Since she was unclothed, and he lusted after her, and he went and ended up having sexual relationship with her. She was pregnant, and now we got to figure out what to do with her husband. So what he did was he got her husband, sent him to the front lines of a battle with the instructions to for the generals at that point to put him in the very front, just to ensure that he would be killed, so that David could have his wife through immorality, and it's just such a sad story that just doesn't make any sense. And then later in the Bible, it says that David was a man after God's own heart. What? So God condones this activity? How does that work? That doesn't work. The story of Noah and the whole concept there of him being drunk was our prophets a immoral person? Was he a drunkard? What kind of picture is that? And so the atheist goes, this doesn't make any sense. There is no sense in that you're saying you get morality from me, your morality for me from the Bible, when the Bible is not a very moral book. There are books in the Bible that we can't read here on the air.
That's true.
We'd be embarrassed to read them. Some parts out of Ezekiel, Song of Solomon, and others. And so the atheist comes along and says, "What morality are you talking about?" And it's not there.
All right.
And it wasn't the words of the prophet Jesus alayhi salam. That never, that's not him. But it was recorded other stories.
All right.
So that is why we should really believe in what Jesus said, the most preserved way what we have, and also what matches with Quran.
Exactly what matches with Quran. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Let's move back now to our original question, the series of questions that we had. We were talking initially about the universe and where did it come from. Now we got off into the Bible, we got off into the Quran, but I wanted us to stay a little bit more focused on exactly what our purpose must be and eliminate some of the things that it wouldn't be. For instance, if somebody said, and I think Doctor was alluding to this very well by asking the questions to his patients about the
why were you created?
No, but why were you created? Because in the scenario that you presented, relative to somebody being a thug, and he has a lot of protection, he has a lot of money, he has a lot of control, so he doesn't see anything wrong with what he's doing as long as he can get away with it. And the end of that story would be there has to be morality. There are a set of morals that everybody has to follow. Otherwise, you would have chaos throughout the universe, throughout the land that we live in, and ultimately throughout the universe if there weren't really something of moral value. A lot of the times when you read these magazines or fiction stories about people from outer space and so on, they have a tendency to always, it's strange to me that they can always speak English or have some kind of translator, some way that they can translate to English. But of course, we know that they're trying to sell their movies here in English. But the point that I really wanted to explore at this point is that they always seem to have the morals in some way or another that we have. In other words, they're out here trying to fix something in the world, and I keep getting phone calls here. I don't know what's going on with that. Oh, it's time for a break. Yeah, well, let's take this break real quick. Guys, we'll be right back right after this. Stay tuned and stay guided with Guide Us TV.
Here are some ways to get Guide Us TV. Via satellite on Galaxy 19 FTA. At this satellite frequency, transponder rate 5, frequency 11836 MHz, polarity vertical, symbol rate 20770, FEC 3/4, channel ID, Guide US TV. You can also download the app to your smartphone. Available for iPhones from the App Store, for Android on Google Play. And now Guide Us TV is available on Roku. Get guided with Guide Us TV. Here are some ways to get Guide Us TV. Via satellite on Galaxy 19 FTA. At this satellite frequency, transponder rate 5, frequency 11836 MHz, polarity vertical, symbol rate 20770, FEC 3/4, channel ID, Guide US TV. You can also download the app to your smartphone. Available for iPhones from the App Store, for Android on Google Play. And now Guide Us TV is available on Roku. Get guided with Guide Us TV.
And we are back. No, we're not. We're just out in the mud. Yeah, here we go. And we're back. We've been, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, in discussion with some of our folks at the of our transmission. And the good news, we want to mention this tonight. We've got some very, very good news, guys, that we were able to acquire the equipment that we needed for the better broadcasting, and we had to upload this. Our satellite is about at least was before and more, and the quality of we're going to get a lot less of these ups on our broadcast. So we're really, really excited about that, because we want to give you the best possible rendition of our needed programs, and we can't do it if it keeps freezing and stopping. And so that's why we were praying so hard during Ramadan for folks to step up and help us, and we were able to get at least this first version, the first part of what we wanted to accomplish. So for all of you out there that have been helping and praying for us, thank you. Keep the prayers going and keep on supporting the Guide Us TV. And we've got a new visitor comes in with us right now. Let's bring him out here. And he's all the way from Tamp It Down, Florida. There you go.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum, doctor.
Salam.
Yeah, I picked on everybody else when they came in, so that was just following tradition, you know. So the program tonight is dealing with the subject of the universe, and we said the universality of Islam. Can you prove where the universe came from, or prove the universe is real? So, and then we discussed that lightheartedly at the beginning with myself and Richard. Then when Dr. Sultan came on board, we asked him, and he told us about one of the things he talks to his patients about is the idea of, where are we going, what are we doing, and so on, and what about morality. And then we talked about that. We just now got back from a break, and it's great to have you with us. I think we brought you up to date on everything, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Wonderful. I wanted from last night to share from verses 4 to verses 10, actually, of the Surah Al-Sajdah, because that sums up the creation of heaven and earth and everything in between, and all the things that have to do with astronomy, the unknown, the creation of the human being from clay to, all the way till the death. So if you want to, play it and we'll go over it, I think that will really be a good summary of a punchline of what everyone should be known, Muslims and non-Muslims alike, of how the enormity of the majesty of the Creator, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
I understand what you're saying. That is something that we take into consideration with our team here, and obviously we can't just put something up and do it without having it available for us. And but that is something that sounds really good. Tell us more about it. Let's hear from you. We got you.
Sure. Allah, I can, sure. I'm just following your format. Okay. Allah الذي خلق السماوات والأرض وما بينهما في 6 أيام ثم استوى على العرش ما لكم من دونه من ولي ولا شفيع أفلا تتذكرون. That was in the Arabic text. Allah is the one who created the heaven and earth and all in between them in 6 days. Then he, with his istawa ala al-arsh, meaning he rose over the throne, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the manner that suits him. And you, mankind, have none besides him as a will. The Arabic word wali means protector or helper. There is no other protector or helper other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Or an intercessor on your belief that's called shafi'ah. Will you remember then, what Allah has sent you? يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ يَعْرُجُ إِلَيْهِ فِي يَوْمٍ كَانَ مِقْدَارُهُ أَلْفَ سَنَةٍ مِمَّا تَعُدُّونَ. Then he arranged every affair from the heaven to the earth, and then the affair will go on to him in one day. That the space of which is equal to 1,000 years of your reckoning, your calculation on the present world. So 1 day of the present world will equal 1,000 years in heavens by the calculation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that has ordained. ذَلِكَ عَالِمُ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ الْعَزِيزُ الرَّحِيمُ. That is Allah, the all-knowing of the seen and the unseen. O Allah Almighty, the most merciful. الذي أحسن كل شيء خلقه وبدأ خلق الإنسان من طين. Who made everything that He subhanahu wa ta'ala have created good. Allah made everything good. And He began the creation of man from what? From clay. ثم جعل نسله من سلالة من ماء مهين. Then He made His offspring from the semen and of basically worthless water. That's ma'in mahin. That's the male and then the female, sexual discharge. ثم سواه ونفخ فيه من روحي وجعل لكم السمع والأبصار والأفئدة قليلا ما تشكرون. Then He fashioned you in a proportionate way, and He breathed into you His soul that created from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the ruh. And He made you a whole different person and give you hearing and give you sight, eyes, and give you a beating heart, and the little that we thank Allah for what He gave us. And then final 2 ayat, وَقَالُوا إِذَا ضَلَلْنَا فِي الْأَرْضِ أَإِنَّا لَفِي خَلْقٍ جَدِيدٍ بَلْ هُمْ بِلِقَاءِ رَبِّهِمْ كَافِرُونَ. And they say, when we are dead and become lost in earth, shall we indeed be resurrected or recreated again? No. but they deny the meaning of the Lord. قل يتوفأكم ملك الموت الذي وكل بكم ثم إلى ربكم ترجعون. A very affirmative statement from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Say, the angel of death who is set over you will take your soul wherever you happen to be, and then shall be brought you back to your creator. So I'm just wanted to share that because for anyone who have any doubts of the creation, that kind of puts it all together in perspective.
The problem is going to come then whenever a philosopher or a person that is either atheist or agnostic is going to say, well, what if I don't choose to believe what you're saying? Well, I don't choose to believe that particular reference or source is relevant to anything that I'm dealing with. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
What would?
But I think there are people who like to argue, and then just like to for no actual substance, but just for the sake of arguments. We just, at those people, we deliver the message, and we're not getting in a sparring match or kind of fighting back and words. We're supposed to or ordered to deliver the message, so we'll deliver exactly the words of Allah to them, and for the most people, they will agree with it.
Okay, but what we're talking about now is that somebody is talking with you, and they say, "Well, I don't see where that's relevant. Can you show me something that to help me out here?"
Sure. You look at the heaven and earth, the change of day and night, the creation of human being from a semen and egg, and then they'll put it into a drop of blood, and then a clot, and then a small piece of flesh. And Allah will make this into entire 12 system, skeletal system, respiratory, digestive, heart, circulation, and all that. And then Allah will blow the ruh in it, and then all of a sudden become a human being. All this, these things that we see on daily basis, and we, the one who gives the food, the rain, and so on and so forth. This is like endless science it will be compelling evidence for those who can see, who have, I would say, a living heart. Because those people have dead hearts, or they have على قلوب أقفالها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would describe the hearts that have locks. Or بل كلا بل ران على قلوبهم. Allah would put a shield on their heart so nothing will get through. The haqq will not go through. At this point in time, you delivered your message, you did your job, and you pray for them and you move on. I think that, but for the most part, especially now around the globe, people would love to hear something positive that will guide them back to the Creator, who is the only one who can save us from coronavirus and all the economic devastation and everything else that the world is going through, and injustice and so on. Go back to Allah. That is really that we go back and forth, but that ultimately get us back to Allah. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. There's a verse in the Quran that we should rush. فَفِرُّوا إِلَى اللَّهِ. That we really should compete in speed, fast, in a sprint, like going out in a running competition, back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
فَاسْتَبِقُوا الْخَيْرَاتِ.
Yes, and then race in the goodness, doing the goodness. Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
I'm always mindful of the DNA, the miracle of DNA in the human body. I think they tell us, doctor, help me out here, that there are about 10 trillion cells in the human body, and if you stretch them out end to end, it would be 744 million miles, or it actually be to the sun and back 4 times. And that's the DNA inside each one of us. That is an amazing concept of the characteristics, everything about us, and it's just wrapped up in the DNA that is somehow inside of our body, but we go to the stars and back 4 times because there's so much of it.
Elon Musk would like to know about that, going up to the stars and back. Wow.
Yeah, the DNA, if the cells were laid end to end, it would go to the sun and back 4 times. That's 93 million miles one way. And that's all wrapped up in each one of us.
All right. Well, next time we got to go somewhere and travel long distance, I'll try to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Dr. Zakir Naik talks on this subject very extensively. And he says, I love to talk to the atheists. You see, the first part, I talk to him, what is in common with you and me? La ilaha. There's no God. You said there's no God. I say no God. So that is common with. So at least we are 50% in agreement that there's no God. Okay. The other half of it, la ilaha illallah, except Allah. That is the part I got to explain to you. And then he gives the example that, let's say you go on the mountain and you see that there was a table and a chair. And what will be your logical conclusion? That there was somebody in here. You see, it'll be very illogical if you said that, the trees got cut itself, they came on the floor, and then their legs are put in there and cut in proper, beautiful shape, and made a chair and a table. If that minuscule amount cannot be done spontaneously, you tell me how logically is such a big universe in such a uniform way working together like a machine in perfect harmony. You tell me how did it come? It's illogical to say such a big harmony came in just because of nobody. See, then usually sometimes person make a mistake and says, somebody must have created that. Well, then the atheist comes and says, well, then somebody should have created God too, if that's the line. So you're never going to into that kind of logic, and you just bring the fact that nothing can but itself. And the definition of what is the definition of God anyway? The definition of God is it is uncreated. If it is created, it cannot be God. If I can prove you how God was created, then it's no longer a God. There is one very interesting poem, Qawwali, as India, Pakistan is known. The guy is talking about God and say, I don't know who you are, how you look like, If I can catch you, it is a statue. But if I cannot, that's what God is. If I can catch you, get it in my hand, it is a statue, it's not a God. Does it make sense? It says in a poetic way, so I can't bring that poetic thing in English language translating, but basically that's the meaning.
Yeah, I get where he's trying to go. In other words, if I can see it, then it's something in the universe. If I can hear it, it's something in the universe. And if I can smell it, it's something in the universe. If I can perceive it with any of my senses whatsoever, even imagine it, then it's something in the universe, and therefore it wouldn't be the creator of the universe, because something cannot create itself. Bottom line, the easiest way to define that would, according to what you're saying, is to say that if I can see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it, imagine it, it is not the creator of the universe, because everything I've talked about is all relative to this universe. Is that right?
Exactly.
What about that thing inside you? I was talking to a gentleman real recently, and we were talking about his family. He's this man's a bit of an agnostic, and we were talking about his kids. And I asked him the question. I said, "If there's no God, there's no reason to be here. It's just a messed up world, and you survive the best you can, and you go into non-existence at the end. Why did you bring children into the world? And he said, well, that's really a good question. And he came back and he said, there was just something inside me that wanted to be a father. Something inside you. Can't put that in all the senses.
Well, you know what? Now, you brought up a very good point on this one, because if somebody will consider that there's something inside of them that has desires, that is making me want to do something that actually, to my mind, it's a little bit illogical or irrelevant, but then why am I desiring something illogical or irrelevant? And yet I'm talking about I want to have logical, relevant examples to represent the God.
Yeah. You just said there's something inside you. Isn't there a term for that in Islam?
Ruh. That tells you the right from wrong, what is halal, what's haram, what to do and what not to do. It has to be regulation from the body that comes from a connection with Allah. The stronger the connection with Allah, the more discipline the soul or the ruh will be in following that, staying away from what Allah prohibits, and then doing what Allah has ordained.
What was that word again, sir?
Ruh. In Arabic, ruh.
Ruh.
Yes. Ruh, the soul. Allah, remember, I just said the ayah, Allah nafakha fi, blow out, inside the baby, the womb, then, give you the life with the ruh. So you have a body, the physical body that you eat and drink and go to the bathroom and so on, but in a ruh that actually thinks and contemplates and pauses to ponder and think and self-evaluate and so on. Do what's right, stay away from what's wrong. And if the Sheikh allowed, there's a very nice thing that I came across about the humanity in Islam. What distinguishes Islam from any other civilization on the planet Earth, on the history of humanity, that it actually comes in with it. And of course, now with all the chronic problems of racism, inequality, disparity, this and that, I thought that maybe we'll do a small, maybe 1 minute, if it's okay with you, 1 minute on that. I mean, just kind of put things perspective. A lot of people don't know that human rights in Islam are very, very strong. No racism in Islam, especially when it comes to it. So I don't know if the Sheikh would allow 60 seconds for that.
Well, we allowed 60 seconds for you to ask the question. I think that's no problem.
So the Islamic civilization have a very strong humanistic characteristics that distinguish it from any other civilization on earth. And now the way we have all chronic problems around the world, hatred, jealousy, this division, being, not having the, forgiveness, love, and cooperation and equality in front of Allah and in front of the law. So there is, we're supposed all men are created equal. There should be no superiority on anyone over anyone, except with one parameter that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, illa bit-taqwa. The taqwa only would rise someone to a higher rank than the other. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah An-Nisa, Ya ayyuhan nas, taqu rabbakum alladhi khalaqakum min nafsin wahida, wa khalaqa minha zawjaha, wa batha minhuma rijalan kathiran wa nisaa. Oh, you believe, fear Allah, that created you from one single soul and then made from it men and women and made nations and tribes. So the origin in the human being is only one, regardless of where they come from or their language or their color. They come back to the humanity, to the human race. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have raised for one clear goal and purpose. Ya ayyuhan nas, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qaba'ila lita'arafu. Oh, you people. This is for all, mankind, Muslims and non-Muslim. We created you from a male and a female and made you tribes and nations to get to know one another. This is in Surah Al-Hujurat, verses 13. And this is a good, way to get rid of the boogeyman. So if we just sit down and have a cup of coffee, talk like have a conversation like the Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Yusuf, for having this platform. So people kind of just like, okay, we're just humans. We're, same dreams, aspirations, needs, and of course the pursuit of happiness and all that. What do you want for X or Y, just like you want for yourself? And that is really the highest human attributes that somebody can link to. There is no better white over black or black over white. There is no better rich over poor or anyone. Only the taqwa. Inna akramakum indallahi atqakum. This is the standard that Allah has set forth, which is the taqwa that in Surah Al-Hujurat, verse 13. And Allah remind us, فَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ. This is the scale. This is the parameter. This is how everybody's being judged. مَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ خَيْرًا يَرَهُ وَمَنْ يَعْمَلْ مِثْقَالَ ذَرَّةٍ شَرًّا يَرَهُ. Whoever make an atom worth of good deeds, he will see it. And conversely, whoever make an atom worth of bad deed will see it. In Surah Zalzala. I'm going to stop here. 60 seconds.
MashaAllah.
No.
That's a first.
Or Sayyidi from Mania.
That was good. That was so good.
Alhamdulillah.
Yes.
We'll have some more because a lot of people don't know. When they know how beautiful Islam is and ruled the world for 14 centuries, give everybody rights and no discrimination and so on. And it was truly a melting pot. That everybody came and melt into it and became one, humanity, family of humanity of one. And this is built in our way of life as Muslims, so people just need to know about it.
Well,
from a rookie standpoint, it's a lot easier to explain. It's just logical and simple.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't know, anything,
Oh no, I know that.
So just a small little doses, of medicine, of knowledge that will get rid of the boogeyman, and people get to know. Like now, the hottest thing, if you look at the commercials, about the flushes, and they're selling it now. They save a lot of money on rather than buying toilet paper. You go now to this new thing. Well, you know what? That's going to be a great thing for America. Is going to cut down a lot of the infections and E. coli and oral fecal contamination and beautiful thing that maybe it's all triggered by coronavirus and people rushing to buy the toilet paper. But then now a great thing that's happening that they are buying these flushes in the bathroom and they are very excited about it. And it's good for their health. So, it's not all that bad.
You're talking about bidet.
Bidet, yes, sir. Bidet and clear rear and other.
One thing, we are the biggest marketers of our times. You can have $2 solution instead of getting a few $100s of bidet. Just get a plant watering can, plant watering can, and just after you're done with, just wash with water in the hand. You see,
flushes are very important. Get rid of this, and then after that, you use a good thorough hand wash with water.
Right.
That is good. That is very good thing for America, and that's very good. I hope they can adapt this in public bathrooms, adapt this public policy. This is a great public health measure that will cut down on a lot of the infections that come from basically dirty toilet seats and dirty people that are not cleaning themselves after they're done with their bathroom.
A couple of years ago, I had a very interesting experience. I went to Japan and I went to South Korea. Wherever I went, hotels, public places, airport, every place there is bidet, water, cleanliness, and people will wash their privates, after do the ablution and all. America was 100 years behind than South Korea or Japan as far as the cleanliness comes. So that's a food for thought, you see.
But coronavirus brought this about. So alhamdulillah. And then people said, hey, you know what? You could save a lot of money compared to buying toilet paper. You could just use this simple thing to clean yourself, and it's much better and much hygienic, and it prevents infections. Hey, we'll go all for it. Just
Exactly.
like the Muslims do.
As much as I think, as much as we're enjoying the presentation of our particular niche that we pulled up out of the, out of our sidetracking, I want to go back really now, just in the last minute. This is only the last minute that we have to once again ask this question: what about the universe? And I'm putting something up on it so that folks can take a look at it and think about the universe itself. If there really is a universe, boys and girls, then consider that it came from somewhere. And if it came from somewhere, as the scientists tell us that, the atheist scientists will tell us that it did come from somewhere. In fact, they will tell us things that we know from the Quran, 1,400 years before they were born, by the way, that it says that the whole entire universe was brought together by Almighty God, and that He is the one who divided it up in the very beginning. It's what they call the so-called Big Bang Theory that we spoke about a little bit last night. And now we find that there is something that's been explained in details and with metaphors, along with some examples of not just the universe, in particular our Earth, because he constantly refers to the whole entire universe, samawati, and wal ard. And that's very similar to our word earth, ard. And so this is in the Quran. Why not consider, at least give it a chance? And here's my big pitch for you today. Ready? You can order this, and we will send it to you, and will not charge you a cent. You can have this for free. And it's in plain, simple English. It is a translation, not perfect, but it's enough that you will get the essence of what the Quran is trying to tell you. So if this is a recitation, a reciting from Almighty God, and if it really suits you and touches your heart, then we did our job. But if you at least let us send it to you, whether you read it or not, we still did our job. Then the rest will be up to you. So from all of us right here, I would like to just real quick go back over our guests tonight. Dr. Sultan, thank you so much for being with us. And I ask you to pray for us to do more, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah.
And
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim.
Yes, go ahead.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank all of
you.
We got to get off the air right now, but inshallah, be back with us tomorrow night, inshallah. Everybody, be back with us again tomorrow night. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Sheikh, I want you to pray for my family. When my nephew passed away with the coronavirus, and his mother is very, very sick, and father is very sick. So please pray for him.
Inshallah.
Amen. Inshallah.
Fire and enter the Jannah they have. That is the victory. In the hadith, it's in the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi, the Prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, talked